I thought living in one country would be enough, but I couldn't have been more wrong. Many expats leave the United States believing one move will lead them to a better life. What they often discover is that the search doesn't end. It becomes a journey that keeps pulling them to new places. We break down the biggest mistakes Americans make when moving overseas, using data and insights from The Earth Awaits, Numbeo, and livingcost.org. Stay until the end to discover the surprising reason some Americans never stop moving from one country to the next. Every paradise eventually becomes someone's everyday life. One of the biggest reasons Americans keep moving from one country to another is something few people expect. The honeymoon phase doesn't last forever. When you first arrive in a new country, everything feels incredible. The food is exciting because you've never tasted anything like it before. The culture feels fascinating, filled with traditions, customs, and experiences that seem refreshing compared to what you left behind. The lifestyle feels different and full of promise. Even simple daily activities feel like adventures. Most importantly, the future appears wide open, packed with new possibilities and opportunities. During this stage, it's easy to believe you've finally found the answer you've been searching for. But then something happens. The new food becomes familiar. The culture becomes normal. The lifestyle that once felt exciting becomes routine. The possibilities that seemed endless begin to look more realistic. Then real life arrives. Bills still need to be paid. Daily routines begin to take shape. Problems emerge that no travel vlog or relocation guide ever mentioned. Maybe it's dealing with bureaucracy, finding reliable services, navigating healthcare, or simply managing the ordinary stresses of life. The scenery may be different, but life is still life. This is the moment when many expats experience disappointment. The excitement they felt during their first months abroad starts to fade, and they begin wondering whether another country might make them happier. But the issue often isn't the country. As many relocation experts have observed, people often mistake the excitement of novelty for long-term happiness. Novelty creates a powerful emotional high. Everything feels fresh, different, and stimulating. But fulfillment is something deeper. It comes from purpose, relationships, personal growth, and creating a life that genuinely works for you. That's why the first major relocation mistake is clear: confusing novelty with fulfillment. A new country can change your surroundings, but lasting happiness requires much more than a change of address. Don't miss the finale. It is where your eyes will be completely opened to the undeniable truth. The country that looks perfect online can become the one you're eager to leave a year later. After realizing that the honeymoon phase has faded, many expats assume the problem is the country itself, so they start searching for a better destination. This time, they become obsessed with rankings, cost of living calculators, YouTube videos, and social media posts. They compare countries based on cheap rent, affordable groceries, and lower monthly expenses. Others focus almost entirely on weather, dreaming of endless sunshine and warm temperatures. Many are influenced by social media hype, where influencers showcase beautiful beaches, trendy cafes, and seemingly perfect lifestyles. On paper, the decision makes complete sense. Why not move to the place that appears cheaper, warmer, and more exciting? The problem is that these factors rarely tell the whole story. What often gets ignored is compatibility. A country may offer everything you think you want, but still feel wrong once you live there. Personality matters too. Some people thrive in fast-paced environments, while others prefer slower, quieter communities. Long-term goals are equally important. The ideal destination for someone building a business may be very different from the ideal destination for someone seeking retirement, family life, or career advancement. Unfortunately, many people never ask these deeper questions before making a move. Instead, they optimize for numbers. They chase lower costs, better weather, or the latest expat hotspot without considering whether the country actually supports the life they want to build. That's why so many relocations end in disappointment. As the saying goes, a great country on paper isn't always a great country for you. The best destination isn't necessarily the cheapest, the trendiest, or the most talked about online. It's the one that aligns with your values, personality, priorities, and future plans, which leads to another common relocation mistake: optimizing for affordability instead of lifestyle fit. Saving money matters, but building a life you genuinely enjoy matters even more. Stick around and see what happens to Americans who chase a feeling when relocating abroad. Sometimes the thing you're searching for isn't a place at all. Many Americans who move abroad believe they're searching for the right country. They spend months researching destinations, comparing visas, calculating costs, and imagining what life might look like somewhere else. But after moving once, twice, or even several times, a surprising pattern begins to emerge. The excitement they felt wasn't necessarily tied to a specific location. It was tied to a feeling. For some, that feeling is freedom. Moving abroad represents an escape from routines, expectations, or circumstances that no longer fit the life they want. A new country creates the sense that anything is possible. For others, it's excitement. Every relocation brings new experiences, new discoveries, and the thrill of stepping into the unknown. The anticipation alone can feel addictive. Then there's reinvention. A move abroad offers the rare opportunity to start over. You're no longer defined by old habits, past mistakes, or the identity you've carried for years. In a new environment, it becomes easier to imagine a different version of yourself. And for many people, the deeper search is for purpose. They're hoping that somewhere out there is a place that will finally make life feel more meaningful, more fulfilling, and more aligned with who they truly are. But eventually, an important realization begins to take shape. The common factor in every move is not the country, it's the person making the move. After enough relocations, many expats begin to notice that the same hopes, dreams, frustrations, and questions keep following them from one destination to the next. That's when a powerful insight often appears. This is where I started realizing the country wasn't the real destination. The real destination was freedom. It was excitement. It was reinvention. It was purpose. And no country, no matter how beautiful or affordable, can permanently provide those feelings on its own. Until that truth becomes clear, the search for the perfect country can easily become an endless journey. Keep watching to find out what happens should you think a country can fix your problem. The most dangerous relocation trap is believing happiness is always one country away. At first, the move feels like a success. Everything is exciting. The streets are unfamiliar. The culture feels refreshing. And each day brings something new to discover. The decision to move seems completely justified. You feel energized, optimistic, and convinced you've finally found a better life. But then the pattern begins. After the initial excitement comes adjustment. The new environment starts becoming familiar. Daily responsibilities return. The realities of living abroad become more visible. You learn the language barriers aren't always easy to overcome. Bureaucracy becomes frustrating. Relationships take time to build. What once felt extraordinary slowly becomes ordinary. Then comes disappointment, not because the country is necessarily bad, but because it failed to deliver the permanent happiness you expected. The excitement that made everything feel special starts fading, and old frustrations begin resurfacing. That's when a new idea enters the picture. Maybe the problem isn't this country. Maybe it's another country. Suddenly, attention shifts toward a new destination. A different place seems to offer better opportunities, a better lifestyle, better weather, or a better future. Research begins again. Videos are watched, plans are made, then comes relocation. And for a while, the cycle appears to work, but eventually, the same sequence returns. Excitement, adjustment, disappointment, relocation, repeat. Each move creates a temporary boost of optimism, but because the underlying issues remain unresolved, the search never truly ends. As a result, many expats find themselves trapped in a cycle where every destination becomes a stepping stone to the next one. The next country becomes the next hope. The problem is that hope keeps being attached to geography instead of something deeper. This leads to one of the biggest mistakes expats make. Believing geography creates fulfillment. A different country can change your surroundings, but lasting fulfillment comes from within the life you build, not simply from the place where you build it. Make sure to watch all the way through. You won't believe what we found to happen to expats who fail to build roots in their country of choice. You can live in the most beautiful places in the world and still feel like you don't belong anywhere. For many expats, the ability to move from country to country feels like the ultimate freedom. If a place no longer feels right, they can leave. If another destination looks more exciting, they can pack their bags and start over. There is something undeniably appealing about having that level of mobility. At first, constant movement creates a sense of freedom. Life feels open-ended and full of possibilities. There is always another city to explore, another culture to experience, and another adventure waiting around the corner. It also creates flexibility. Without deep commitments tying them down, moving becomes easier. Decisions can be made quickly, and life can feel less restricted than it once did. But over time, another side of the story begins to emerge. The more frequently someone relocates, the harder it becomes to build lasting connections. Friendships often remain temporary. Communities are entered just as they are being left behind. Relationships may never have enough time to deepen. Eventually, freedom can start feeling like loneliness. The constant transitions can also create instability. Each move requires rebuilding routines, support systems, and a sense of normalcy. Instead of creating a foundation, life can begin to feel like a series of temporary chapters. Most importantly, there can be a growing lack of belonging. Humans naturally seek connection, not just to people, but to places. We want to feel known. We want familiar faces, favorite routines, and a community that recognizes us as part of it. Yet, when every location is temporary, belonging can remain just out of reach. This is why some expats continue moving, even when each destination seems objectively better than the last. They're searching for a feeling that cannot be found through movement alone, which leads to another common relocation mistake: mistaking movement for progress. Changing locations may change your circumstances, but real progress often comes from staying long enough to build roots. Don't go anywhere and see how moving from one country to another can turn expats to reinvention addicts. The hardest thing about finding yourself abroad is realizing you can't keep becoming someone new forever. One of the most powerful attractions of moving to a new country is the opportunity to reinvent yourself. In a new place, nobody knows your history. Nobody has expectations about who you are supposed to be. The version of you that existed in your previous country can be left behind, and that creates an incredible sense of freedom. Every new country offers a new identity. You can adopt different habits, build new routines, and present yourself in ways that feel more aligned with the person you want to become. It feels like a chance to rewrite your story. A new country also offers a fresh start. Past disappointments seem less significant when you're surrounded by unfamiliar streets, new faces, and a completely different environment. The future feels wide open, and perhaps most appealing of all, every move brings new possibilities, new careers, new friendships, new experiences, new dreams. For a while, it can feel as though the next relocation is unlocking a better version of life. But eventually, something familiar happens. The new identity becomes normal. The fresh start becomes everyday reality. The exciting possibilities become routine responsibilities, and then the cycle repeats. Another country begins to look appealing. Another fresh start appears on the horizon. Another opportunity for reinvention seems like the answer. But what many people eventually discover is that constant reinvention can become a distraction. As one expat insightfully observed, starting over feels exciting because you don't have to face the parts of life that require staying. Building deep relationships requires staying. Creating a meaningful career requires staying. Becoming part of a community requires staying. Personal growth often requires staying long enough to work through challenges instead of escaping them. At some point, the greatest transformation isn't found in becoming someone new, it's found in committing to who you already are and building a life that lasts. You'll want to see what searching for something deeper does to expats. At some point, you realize the problem was never really about the map. It was about what you were hoping to find on it. After enough moves, comparisons, and resets, something subtle starts to become clear. Most people aren't actually chasing cheaper rent or better weather, even if that's what they tell themselves at first. Those things are just the surface. Underneath, there's something much deeper driving the search. It's not about finding a place where life costs less or where the sun shines more often. Those are convenient reasons, easy to explain and easy to measure, but they don't fully explain why someone would uproot their entire life more than once, because what they're really searching for isn't external at all. It's belonging, it's meaning, it's purpose, it's peace. And those are things no single country can guarantee, no matter how ideal it looks from the outside. At some point in the journey, something shifts internally. The focus stops being about finding the right destination and starts becoming about trying to understand what was missing in the first place. And this is where the story completely changed for me. Because once you see it clearly, you realize the pattern was never random. The movement, the excitement, the disappointment, it was all pointing towards something deeper than geography. The people who keep moving aren't necessarily looking for another country. They're looking for something they haven't found yet. And often, they don't even know what it is. So they keep searching. New place after new place, hoping that the next change will finally bring clarity, stability, or a sense of arrival. But the truth is, until that deeper need is understood, no destination will ever feel final. Because the real journey was never just across borders, it was inward. You may not believe what we will reveal as the real reason why some Americans keep moving from one country to another. At the end of all the flights, visas, and new beginnings, most people realize they were never really chasing countries at all. The reason some Americans keep moving from country to country is often surprisingly simple. They're solving the wrong problem. It's rarely about whether Mexico, Thailand, Portugal, or Colombia is better or worse. On the surface, each move looks like an upgrade or correction, but underneath, the issue is not the location. The issue is the belief that happiness, meaning, belonging, or purpose lives somewhere else. That single idea quietly drives the entire cycle. If life doesn't feel right, the instinct becomes, change the country. If that doesn't work, change it again and again. But the pattern continues because the root question was never answered. As many experienced expats eventually realize, the biggest mistake Americans make abroad is thinking the next country will provide what only intentional living can create. No destination can replace clarity about how you want to live, who you want to become, or what truly matters to you on a daily basis. Before making another move, there are a few questions that change everything. Am I moving towards something or away from something? What problem do I think the next country will solve? Would that problem follow me anywhere? Because if the same internal challenges travel with you, a new passport won't fix them. At some point, the most successful expats reach a turning point. They stop treating countries like solutions and start treating life like something they actively design. As a result, the people who thrive abroad eventually stop searching for the perfect country and start building the right life. And that shift changes everything. Maybe one country is enough, maybe it isn't. But the number of moves matters far less than the direction of your thinking, because eventually, every expat faces the same challenge. Stop asking, where should I live? And start asking, what kind of life am I trying to build? Check out our other videos for honest, in-depth stories from long-term expats who break down what it really takes to build a life abroad.